Hello everyone, and today I'll go through my GCSE Computer Science master plan. Hopefully this will help you get the best marks possible in your GCSE Computer Science. This is a plan on a page, so as you can see on the left hand side it lists all the topics as per the specification, and then on the right hand side it lists the resources which you had for the exam. And once you complete a topic, you can tick or write in the date which you complete it on the right hand side columns so that you can see which topics you've completed and which ones that you need to revise more. The self-score column just to the right of the topic list should be the first column to be filled, and in that you give yourself an initial idea of what score you would get if you were to take an exam on that topic, from a scale of 1 to 9 as your GCSEs would be. Briefly, the resources that I used were my school OneNote, a CGP revision guide, Seneca, Zigzag, and BBC Bitesize. By the time you're done with your Computer Science GCSE, this is what your resource pile may look like. This looks a bit lackluster in compared to my other subjects, however there were numerous resources online for Computer Science which I utilized. And this here is a list of the resources which I used for the Computer Science GCSE. So from the top you have the specification, you have my school notes which were made on Microsoft's application called OneNote, my own revision notes, BBC Bitesize, Seneca, which is a fantastic website which we'll get to later, a question booklet which was given to me by school, a Zigzag workbook also given to me from my school, and practice questions which were on the OneNote provided by my teacher. So now onto the resources in more detail. So in the top right corner is the specification, which can be found on your exam board's website. The specification lists the topics that you need to know and the bare minimum knowledge which you need to have in order to pass your GCSE. Next we have my school notes. So during lessons your teacher may encourage you to take notes, which I would also recommend, as these notes allow you to revise at home and also compile your own more detailed set of notes, which in the bottom right you can see as my own notes, which I've compiled from multiple resources including my school notes. Another resource given to me by school was this work booklet, and in it contains a set of 20 questions from each topic of the Computer Science GCSE, and these questions you can go through for revision and then check the mark scheme, or if you want then you can just go through answers that you've already written and try and improve upon them and make sure that you get the top marks in each question. This website is called Seneca, and it's a fantastic revision website for when you need to either revise a topic or just to top up on your knowledge. It contains a section on each of the different points in the specification, and also includes short notes and interactive questions in order to ensure that you retain the knowledge which you learn. I highly recommend this website for your revision. Now onto the exam paper. So for the OCR exam, there will be 2 exam papers, each of which is worth half of the total GCSE. As you can see on the slide, the paper will be 1.5 hours long and will be worth 80 marks. Paper 1 is non-calculator and you must do all the questions, and it consists of question types as below: multiple choice questions, short response questions, and extended response questions. Then the second paper for the OCR exam board is also 1.5 hours and is worth the other 50% of your GCSE. Paper 2 is also non-calculator. Paper 2 has 2 different sections, and in section B, questions assessing the student's ability to write or refine algorithms must be answered using either the pseudocode, which is taught by the exam board, or the high-level programming language which you learn in school, so that would be Python or C# for example. There are many different types of questions which you may be asked in an exam. So firstly, you have 1-mark questions for which you should give a short and to the point answer. If you're not entirely certain, then you can give more than one answer. For a 2-mark question, you should give at least 2 or 3 points, depending on what the question asks for. For a 3 or 4-mark question, they look for a more detailed explanation or comparison, so you should give as many points as the question is worth. And then finally, for computer science, you have 8-mark questions, and for these you require much more detail, and these are the kinds of questions which mark the difference between an average student and a grade 9 student. One thing to be wary of is the listing rule. This is a rule in all exams and mark schemes, in which if, for example, in a 2-mark question, you give 3 different points and one of them is incorrect, even if the other 2 are correct, you'll still only get 1 out of 2 marks on the question. So a key point to remember is to look at the key word in the question. Is the question asking you to explain, or to describe, or to compare or analyze different things? As exam time approaches, it is important to make effective use of each of your resources. So I found it helpful to list all my resources in an empty list with multiple columns afterwards, as shown here. And then once you complete each resource, you will put in the date on which you completed it, so that you can see how often you used each resource and which resource that you should spend more time on, as you haven't covered that as much. As you can see, I began my final preparation in mid-April, and I continued using all of my resources until the final exam. On top of this, I also did numerous practice questions and practice papers. The most important method of revision is practice questions, but the question is, where do you find them? So here I've listed some resources which I use to get my own practice questions. So in the bottom left you have freeexampapers.com, which has a bunch of practice papers. Unfortunately, OCR isn't there, however the other exam boards have similar specifications, so you can use those to practice. Additionally, I used BBC Bitesize, part of which was written by my own computer science teachers. So under BBC Bitesize, you have revision and notes which you can go through. And at the end of each topic, there are 10 short multiple choice questions which you can use to test yourself on your own knowledge. Finally, you have a zigzag education, from which you'd either order your resources from a smallest price of £25, or your school may buy a class pack of zigzag education resources, which you'll be given a password to in order to access. In summary, these are the key points that you should take away from this presentation. Firstly, once you complete a topic in school, you should write your own set of notes. These notes can be compiled from your school notes, the CGP revision guide, Seneca website, BBC Bitesize, and the zigzag resources if you have access to them. Secondly, you should always check the mark scheme. So once you do a set of practice questions, which you've written out the answers to, then check the mark scheme and objectively compare your answer to the mark scheme and see where you got the marks or where you hadn't. Ensure that you write down the answers to your practice questions as you'd be writing down the answers in exam conditions. Therefore, when you're going through your answers with the mark scheme, you can see what you actually, or how well you would have actually performed if it was in exam conditions. And finally, best of luck in your GCSE computing.